Obviously, I think I enjoyed it more than you guys did, which is cool. Again, Tony, like you said, it's why we have these debates and these discussions. I think it's really, really interesting.
I rated it a 6. I think, in my opinion, that's what I got. That's what they get from me.
Yeah, if they meant to not blow people away, then I think they did a very good job of making it pretty mediocre.
As it is, I think the big difference from where I'm at from where you are, Trey, is that like even as it is, I still really enjoyed it.
My alarm, like I opened the window and the alarm was still on. Do you like Ross?
The character from Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually this caused a whole nother discussion during this show about that, about all the characters, Phoebe, Ross, and Joey and all of them. So that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time.
So who's your favorite friend character? Or top two?
I'd probably say Ross, to be honest. But I like when Joey and Chandler are together, that might be like my favorite
gotcha. Right.
Characters from the show interacting with each other.
Okay, let's do a quick audio test.
Each of us spend 1 to 2 minutes sort of with the initial review.
Yeah.
Then maybe 5 minutes to 10 max for each episode, and then that's basically the show.
You want me to kick it off, or do you want to kick it off? Okay, ready? Hey guys, welcome to the Trey Show. So we're going to be doing a quick review here on the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. This is a little bit interesting because normally we would text after we watched whatever we're watching, and we would kind of have everybody's initial reactions and impressions. We purposely didn't do that for that episode, so we don't have any idea what each other felt about this. So I'm just be interested to see what everybody says and how that gets a discussion going. So we'll kick it off and we'll get right into it. Tony, you want to give us what your impressions were of the first 2 episodes and your rating?
Yeah. I guess I would rate each of them a solid 6. Me and Chris had this conversation a few episodes back. I'm not that excited about it. But I haven't done much research on it. I don't know where they're going to try to go with this, where it takes place in the timeline, what exactly is going on. They're lucky I like classic sitcom. Otherwise, I probably would have turned it off pretty fast. It's okay so far. Again, it's like 2 30-minute episodes, something around that time. So I'm intrigued, if anything. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed. I just, I if it ended now, I'd be like, what else is on TV? I'm not going to cry about it. But it was going to get so good.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. I enjoy the 2 actors they have, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. I've been a fan of Paul Bettany for a long time, so it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do. The quirky kind of I Love Lucy comedy, slapstick a little bit, just campy is okay right now. I don't know if I can handle a whole season of this, but I think from the previews, it looks like it's going to jump some timelines. We've got 50s television, then 60s and 70s. Maybe it'll kind of go in that kind of timeline. They just started doing the Pleasantville thing where it went from black and white television to color. So it'll be interesting just to kind of see what happens. Oh, another thing that I actually enjoyed is that they had Kitty from that 70s show in it, which is exciting. They have a guy that looks like a fake Ross, which is kind of funny because every time I see him, he looks just like Ross from Friends. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm gonna stay with it.
Do you like Ross from Friends?
The character from Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, actually this caused a whole nother discussion during this show about all the characters, Phoebe, Ross, and Joey and all of them. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I liked for the most part, I liked all of them. If I had to say my least favorite character is Chandler, but that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time.
That's a good discussion, actually. Who's your favorite friend character?
Oh, damn. That's tough, man. Favorite friend character.
Or top 2?
I'd probably say Ross, to be honest.
Really?
Say Ross. But see, the funny you
don't really like David Schwimmer, though, do you?
No, I can't stand
But you
him.
like the character Ross.
I like the character Ross. but I like when Joey and Chandler are together. That might be like my favorite
Gotcha. Right.
characters from the show interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Can't stand Phoebe. Can't stand Chandler. Can't stand Joey for the most part when he's by himself. Rachel and Monica, but yeah, that's my ratings for those real quick. Anyways, Chris, what'd you think about the show?
So I had it a lot higher than you did. So I had it at 8.5 out of 10, to be honest with you. I thought it was really good.
So real quick. I'm sorry, Chris. So Tony ranked it a 6, which is okay. Okay, so Chris, you already broke our rating scale format. So you got to go. There's no halvesies here. So, and do you want me to do a recap what the numbers are?
Then an 8. Then
great.
I was rated an 8 out of 10 then.
So great.
Yeah, I actually thought it was really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I thought
Go
it was
ahead.
really, really good.
Cool.
For several reasons. So I think this is where the MCU being around for 10 plus years, 20 plus movies, right? All kinds of, basically just the amount of equity they've built up with the audience, how well the characters, allows them to go do something like this and play against every type of expectation that you have. I agree with you, Tony. I don't think that they can keep up the slapstick 30-minute sort of approach the entire season, and I don't think that they're going to. I think it was the first few episodes really a setup, and you can start to see sort of like cracks in the facade, tears in the seams of the reality that they have. Now, I think there's questions of whether it's a reality that's been created by Wanda herself or somebody else that's trapping them in there. They're going to have to explain how Vision is there at all. And so I think there's a lot of things that have to kind of work through. How does Sword play into it? Is Sword monitoring them and they're trying to get to them, or is Sword the one that's imprisoned them in some way? But I think that, the way that they did it, I thought was really entertaining and really well done. Playing against that sort of 1950s, 1960s sitcom, but with two superpowered people kind of there as our main characters. So that was really amusing, and it was really fun to watch. Again, I couldn't watch it that exact type of approach the entire season, but I think we know that's not what's going to happen. But yeah, I thought it was really well done. It was really cool to see two characters that you've gotten to know really well through the movies in a completely different setting and set of scenario. And I think it's going to make us really appreciate those two characters a lot more than what we have. They obviously began, kind of moving into more the romantic phase in Infinity War and Endgame. But I think that, that's something that's going to end up being a lot more, I guess, fleshed out in this series. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's pretty cool. And I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well made. And I think that they're going to do a good job sort of paying off what the setup is throughout the season. So I'm convinced that they're going to come through. Kevin Feige is involved with it. As long as he's involved with it, I have supreme confidence in it. And it's also a TV show. So it's the first time that Marvel's really done a proper MCU TV show. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't count. That was never truly, there was ties to the MCU. Tony, you and I have talked about it, but it's never truly been like part of the MCU. And when that was made, Feige wasn't over it. There was a separate head of Marvel TV, and those two didn't get along. So now that Feige owns the entire thing, this is the first time that he's had a chance to really do something. So I think he's going to do it right. And it's going to connect really interestingly into the MCU. And it's groundbreaking. This is the first time now we're going to start to see TV shows that potentially will be influencing heavily movies and vice versa and back and forth. So to me, it's kind of the new chapter of just a different type of TV show. So I'm very excited about it.
So
what about you?
Yeah. So what you actually said is really making me think about this. Because you're right. They have built up, they have so much equity with the audience because of the characters. So it almost is difficult just to take it as, because I sat down and I just said, hey, I'm just watching this show and I'm going to rate it based on what I think about this show and how entertained I am. So my rating for it was a 6 as well, which is okay. But what you said, that I agree with that a ton, and I hadn't thought a lot about that. But as I'm sitting there watching it, and we'll get into some of the details I think the way they did it, and that throwback to the, to the old school kind of sitcom with the live audience, there was some really cool parts to that. But by the end of the second episode, I'm like, is that is that what we're watching? Is that what we're doing? Like, they basically just rehashed, shows that are what, 60 years old or something, 50 years old, and just basically made 2 episodes in that style. So my thought was, okay, they just rehashed this. I think it's okay, and everybody's gonna say that they're a genius for rehashing it. And if DC had done this, or another company, then everybody would say what a bunch of idiots they are. Now, what you said though, Chris, is absolutely true. Because of everything that they've done,
Yeah.
that there's a lot more than that. So I almost think now you almost have to, me, I'm almost looking at it 2 different ways. When I sit down and watch an episode, at what level am I entertained? And I was mildly entertained. But the other thing is, that they're building up to something else. And I don't know what that is yet, but I did think it was interesting if they knew that they were going to do the 2 episode initial release, then I thought they would have given a little bit more, because there wasn't really anything in the whole 2 episodes that made me go, man, I'm really excited for episode 3. Like, it was just, but go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I agree with you. So I think that one place they could have done better is have a little bit of a payoff after the 2 episode premiere. They released 2 episodes by design. There was actually debate that they were having around whether they were going to release all the episodes at once, or they were going to do it sort of week to week. And I think they landed on week to week with a 2 episode premiere. I totally get if people watch that and they walk away from it being like, I don't know if I'm like that excited about, where this is going to go or what's going on here. I actually completely understand that. For me, I really enjoyed it. I agree the second episode is a little bit kind of more like the first episode, maybe more so than it needed to be. But part of what they've done in the first 2 episodes is they've reintroduced the audience to the powers that both Wanda and Vision have. And then I guess sort of the big reveal at the end of the second episode was that Wanda's pregnant, which she obviously had to have like created her pregnancy herself, because Vision can't have kids. And so that's going to be interesting. And there are ties back to the comics. Now, I'm not a huge comic book reader, so I don't know all the different storylines, although as I'm, researching and looking at different things related to WandaVision, the stuff pops up. But this is also the kickoff of phase 4. So I expect they're also going to litter in things like Sword, which I believe is where like Nick Fury was at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. And so
what they're going to
those things are going to start to play. So they're introducing Sword. So Sword is the sort of the space equivalency to Shield. So if you remember at the end credit scene at the end of Far From Home, Fury is on a spaceship basically with other Skrulls. And so what Sword is the comic book version of in space of Shield, where they're kind of like monitoring people from afar, right? So all the different Sword logos that you see is telling you that Sword is definitely like heavily involved somehow in what's happening. Now there's different theories. So like Monica Rambeau too. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. So that's the daughter of Captain Marvel's best friend from Captain Marvel. So the thought is maybe she is actually part of Sword and was sent in to try to help them in some capacity. So I think for me, at least, there's a lot of pieces there that are really intriguing, that have me like really interested to see what the payoff's going to be. And a lot of it's going to be characters and setup that are going to bleed into movies and other shows in the future. So to me, I'm just really interested in all of it because of how interconnected everything has become.
So Chris, you were talking about one thing in the initial discussion about Captain Marvel's daughter's best friend, Captain Marvel's best friend's daughter, who showed up. So do you want to just kind of give a quick synopsis of who that is, and then Chris is gonna kind of take us through the episodes, and we'll discuss.
Yeah, she's definitely going to play a larger role. So it's Monica Rambeau. So yeah, it's the daughter of Captain Marvel's best friend. She was in you saw her as a little girl in Captain Marvel. I think Captain Marvel called her, Captain Trouble. In the comics, she plays a role, around the Avengers. I think the theory right now is that she's possibly working for Sword in some capacity, similar to how back in the day you had Phil Coulson and people like that working for Shield.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I expect that she'll play a role not just in the series, but potentially in other series and/or some of the MCU movies, which is really exciting. So it goes back to the interconnectedness now that we have, and I just think that's very, very cool. But if we circle back and we kind of go through episodes 1 and 2, let's start with episode 1. So, to me, episode 1, and you guys talked about this a little bit, and I think this is part of where your low scores are coming from. It's a total setup episode, right? It's very jarring because you're seeing, it opens basically, the last time we saw the characters, by the way, Vision's dead because the Mind Stone was literally ripped out of his head. And then when it was reversed, then Wanda destroyed it. Or the opposite of that. And so suddenly now we see them in black and white in 1950 or 60s, driving, just married, to their house together. And neither of them know really what's going on, right? There's a date on the calendar. They're confused. But what it really does is I think the episode is meant to reintroduce us to the characters, and it helps remind everybody of some of the different powers, right? Vision's ability to sort of like move through objects, Wanda's ability to move things with her mind, and that she's kind of a witch. And then it also sort of lays the foundation too for some like really interesting things, such as, neither of them really know why they are where they are, right? They don't have wedding rings on. They don't remember their anniversary. Vision goes to work, but doesn't even know what he does. The boss comes over and he forgot he was having dinner with the boss. He talked about that 70s show, alumni being part of that. And so, but then through that, right, the boss gets some food stuck in his throat. And so Vision finally has to pull something out, but it was very awkward because he's just standing there, and finally Wanda is like, Vision, do something, help him. And so then he goes in there. So there's sort of this, and then you got the noisy neighbor, which I think is going to play a larger role as we go on. So I think, in my opinion, what the episode did a really good job of doing is reintroducing us to the characters, using the 60s or 50s sitcom style to sort of do so, which I thought was pretty funny. It was kind of a nod and a wink to the audience. But then also, there's clearly an underlining kind of menace happening. And I think it does a good job of slowly sort of laying those breadcrumbs out. And so I think episode 1 for me was not meant to sort of blow you away. It was really meant to be that sort of solid reintroduction. I completely understand why you guys gave it a 6. I thought it was really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. But that to me I think it was a design choice by Feige and the team. So Trey, I don't know what your thoughts were on episode 1, or if there's a particular part of it, that really kind of drove you toward that 6.0 score, but I'd be interested to hear it.
Yeah, if they meant to not blow people away, then I think they did a very good job of making it pretty mediocre. I get what you're saying. They're trying to do the setup, and they're doing the 60s or 50s sitcom thing, but it's like the whole episode, and we'll talk a little bit about the second episode as well. But I mean, if that was just a quick setup, that would have been okay. But how many episodes is the series? Is it like 8? Do you know?
I think it's like 13.
Oh, it's 13. Okay, because I'm going, okay, they just used 2 episodes and really did nothing, right? I mean, okay, it's kind of a cool bit that they had the studio audience and the throwback to that style of a sitcom. And there were some funny things, like you said.
It's 9 episodes.
9. So they spent, I guess it'd be more than 20%, 25% or something like that. 25% of the series of season 1 with the slow setup like that. Like, to me, that's bizarre. Like, if it was 20 episodes or something like that, or they were an hour long and they spent 20 minutes of the first episode with the setup, I'm like, okay, like, I get it, So to me, that's probably my biggest gripe, is that it was the same thing for 2 full episodes, and that's now 25% of the season. But okay, there were some good bits, and then we can talk about those a little bit more. But I think that's my biggest issue. And then again, when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, if anybody else had done this, this would be ridiculous. Like, I mean, it just, nothing's happened. But here's what I was like an Inception type thing. Like, is this the show? Like, is this the show? Is the sitcom style, black and white, and then the you know the old school sitcom way that they were doing things, is maybe that's the show? And I'm like,
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not going to be. But
it
and
is
I see
right
where you're
now
going. I
though.
see
It is right for
it
2
is.
episodes. It is.
It was. You're right about that. And I guess to your point, it's about your personal preference, right? And that's why I feel like I completely understand where you guys are coming from on it, or at least where you are, Trey. I think you're kind of the same boat, Tony. But I know from the previews, like Tony said, it's going to go a different direction. I also think it's a design choice to sort of start off slow and then begin to slowly ramp the speed up. And I expect there to actually be a pretty satisfying conclusion to the series.
So why do they, and I'm going to kick it to Tony. So why do they get credit for starting off something slow? Why is that? Because, well, I'll leave it at that. Like, okay, they started off slow, and this is where I think we go back to it's Marvel, and they do get some credit because we have some experience with the characters, but we're going, oh, it's Marvel, and they started off slow, and they're so smart because they started off slow, right? And I'm like, that's stupid. They just wasted a quarter of the season.
But remember, we've never had uninterrupted time with Wanda and Vision. And so part of what the episodes are doing is like giving character development to them and to their relationship. We've never really had that. There's a short scene in Infinity War where they're kind of together, I think in Germany or wherever that they are. There's a couple of short scenes in like Civil War, for example, where she's under house arrest and he's there with her. But we never really get to know them as a couple. And so to me, I think the design choice here is to say, before we throw in all this craziness, all these side characters, whoever the villain's going to be, we still don't know how Sword fits into it. Let's develop them as characters and a couple so that you care about them and sort of understand the dynamic that they have. And that way, when trouble comes, right, the stakes feel a little bit higher. I think that was the storytelling choice that they're making. And then they decided to do it in this way while keeping the focus on them, but then slowly through 2 episodes, introducing the people who will likely become like really key players. So I think the nosy neighbor is certainly going to become a key player in some capacity. Obviously, Monica Rambeau is going to. They've established that Sword's involved, so they're laying all these sort of seeds and everything like that. But that's my opinion. But I completely understand where you're coming from. Like that's where I think what's unique about this is that like I can see the spectrum of opinions and I can actually understand why everybody has them. But I'm okay with the choices that they made because we get to see them like this for a little while, which I think is pretty cool. Tony, what are your thoughts?
Chris's take, a fanboy's perspective.
No. So, okay, I wasn't going to be that direct, but I was going to say, this is why I like these conversations. I was going to say, like I love how passionate Chris is about this. He's a big Feige fan. He gets it. And so, I mean, sometimes that's just how it is. Like there's things that I like that Chris can't. I like Lost. Chris can't stand Lost. Like it's just how it works out.
Shoot.
So I will give Chris the benefit of the doubt with this. I'm honestly watching this for Chris. I could care less about it, but I have a feeling that this show is gonna surprise me. I got faith in Marvel. I'm not gonna lay everything on the line for them, but I mean, lay everything on the line for them. But I got faith. It's okay. So what was it? The first episode where we saw that they're being watched on televisions, right? Was the end of the first episode, or was that the second episode?
That was
the end of the first episode is where they
end of the first. Okay, so we know. Right. So we know that this isn't this. I'm hoping. God, I hope. I'm hoping this isn't gonna like stick for. There's 9 episodes we've already. So now we got 7 left. If it sticks like this for 5 more, and it's gonna be hard, but so we know that it's either an alternate reality. It's some kind of they're in her head, maybe watching her play this out. You're right. So when we left them, Vision was dead, but Vision's also a reincarnation of Jarvis, which is a computer program. So, right, so technically he's not, I mean, his body was dead, but who knows what happened. So we can see where it takes from that. Again, I'm a sucker for that kind of television, maybe not retro or, remade 50s sitcom, but I'm still a sucker for it. So that, I was kind of giggling a little bit during that episode. So I'm not drawn in by that. Like,
I was too, Tony. Like I thought it was amusing. Like it
yeah,
wasn't laugh out loud funny, but it was
right,
amusing. And so,
right.
and Trey, I think you're right. By the way, if DC tried to do something like this, yeah, I think people would probably clown them a little bit, but they haven't earned enough credibility and equity with the audience to go do something a little bit crazy. You know, and so that's why I think that you can play against expectations in a limited way, not through a whole season, in a limited way. And I expect that we're going to see the type of this show, what it is, evolve once we get into episodes 3, 4, 5, and beyond.
I
I
think
hope
it's
so. I hope so. I bet we got 2 more episodes of this. If I had to guess, we got 2 more episodes of so what, 50s, 60s, maybe good times, because they're reusing sets, right? They use the Dick
Yep.
Van Dyke set, they use the Bewitched set. So we're kind of going through a timeline of sitcoms from back in the day. So what is it, Sanford and Son or something like that? Like maybe we'll just get Three's Company. I don't know. We're gonna get something, I think, in the next couple episodes. It's gonna kind of bring us up. Maybe we'll get a Friends one. They already got a fake Ross. Maybe we'll get a Friends set in one of these. That would be kind of interesting and relatable for more people than why are we watching a black and white sitcom remake with Vision and Wanda that makes no sense. Like I could picture kids watching it and kind of being like, what the fuck is going on? This is weird. I don't get it. It's supposed to be funny. This is like my grandparents kind of stuff. So we'll see. I don't know. They need to start doing something outside of the sitcom world. Maybe give us a little bit more. You know, we had the Stark Industries commercial in the first one, and then we had the Hydra watch commercial in the second one. So maybe those will have something to do with what happens in the third episode. I don't know.
Yeah,
Man. We'll
that's
see.
pretty interesting. So Feige actually commented there would be commercials in there. I'm sure that they're playing a role. I don't know if you noticed, but in the commercial, the actors were the same. The actor and the actress that did the toast
No, I
commercial are
didn't
the
notice
same that
that.
did the watch commercials. So I think they'll play a role in some way. So let's do, if you guys are good with that, let's move to episode 2, because I know some of the comments I think are bleeding between the 2, and Trey, a lot of your concerns are that 2 is so similar to 1. And so obviously in episode 2, the main focus, you know, sort of the A storyline, if you will, is preparation for this talent show. I actually thought was pretty funny. And then, you know, through the day, you know, Vision chews gum, which literally gums up his inner workings and causes him to sort of act
okay.
like he's
That was
drunk.
funny. That was
It was very funny.
that was
It was
funny.
very funny. Because you know Vision as a character so well, right? He's all business, he's all focused. And so to sort of see him like that is funny. And then sort of see Wanda on the fly having to sort of save them, you know, and come up with explanations for everything.
But
was really funny.
so I agree, right? Like that part was entertaining. But that's the show. That's what they came up with. Their gag and the one of the best parts were that Vision swallows a piece of gum, and then it shows it get caught in his inner workings, and then it messes up how he acts. Again, I think that is funny, but that's what they came up with. That's what we got. And for
Well, here's what you don't
25%
know.
of the first episodes of the season, and we're going, oh, but it's Marvel, and this is, you know, they're gonna get to something. Not yet, but it's okay because they're Marvel. So I'm gonna get off that deal. But that's the exact thing, that because of what they presented us, our expectations are so low that's what that was my takeaway. That again, Vision swallowing gum was the best part.
That's fair. I think that's fair feedback. So for me, what I'm not counting out is that is sort of a setup for something in the future. Like maybe we need to know that that's how Vision works, or that he's susceptible to something, so that later on in future episodes, like it makes sense that it's not just like you know, out of the blue, like we didn't know that this is something that could happen with Vision.
He's
I
gonna
agree
die
with
from
you.
eating a Jolly Rancher in
He
episode
might.
4.
You never know.
It's a setup for it.
But
Get ready.
but I don't disagree. I don't disagree with your complaints at all, like at all on it. But I think I'm coming at it from a different lens as you guys. Like like truly enjoy the show. Like even if they left it like this, like I actually would enjoy just watching them, their stupid antics as they try to fit into, like you said, Tony, a Pleasantville type sort of setup, as they try to hide their secret from the local town folk. That's not going to be the whole show, because obviously it's not even real wherever they are.
Yeah.
But like I legitimately found it, really, I enjoyed it. I think the other thing too we got to remember is that, and I think this is something we need to remember on all the TV shows, is that there's budget, and so I think they have to design the season in a way too, where some of the earlier episodes or mixed in episodes maybe cost a little bit less. I've read an article that Feige says like the last 3 episodes, there's like these epic battles that are going to happen. And so I'm curious if like they spend a lot of money on these sort of like MCU movie style battles, and that causes them to have to spend a little bit less money, in a more creative way, kind of earlier on. And I'm just curious to see kind of, if that plays out like that, but there are limited budgets on some of these TV shows. So if this is the way that they needed to do it, to be budget conscious, to sort of introduce the characters and have a little bit of fun with it, I liked it. I didn't have an issue with it. But if this continues and it doesn't deviate, then I might start to fall more on the side where you guys are at.
Your excuses are abundant this morning,
Twitter
Chris.
Or something?
Thanks.
Do you follow him on Twitter? Like legit, you follow Feige on Twitter or something like that?
No,
or are you just
I actually should. I don't.
Through?
That's a good,
just Googling through and just kind of reading some of the different
Okay.
articles.
I was just curious because I'm like, that's a lot of information, which is cool. I was just like, maybe
they're not
putting
they're
little
being pretty
breadcrumbs
secretive
on the internet.
Yeah, they're being pretty secretive about like what's in it. Like people still don't know like who necessarily the main bad guy is, but like Feige has like teased out certain things around it, and and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting kind of where it goes. But because again, it's as the kickoff to Phase 4, and it's the first time that Feige was kind of rolling out a series. And Feige said that WandaVision was actually influenced by The Mandalorian. So they're looking at the way that The Mandalorian and other type of series have actually been successful and how they were structured. And so I'm interested to see like what influences they take away from that and put into the series.
Well, there's a difference that The Mandalorian's good and this series is not. So I'm gonna, and this is good because we're disagreeing on this. The budget thing is not an excuse for something to not be good. And not only that, and I get what you said that, we're getting to see them develop their relationship a little bit. Okay. Again, that's interesting to me, but that they didn't do a good job of that. And the other thing is we're sitting here 2 episodes in and we don't know what happened. We don't know how they got here. And again, for the first episode, it just kind of throws you in there. I'm okay with that. But after 2 episodes, they haven't explained any of that. So that's where I go back to, this is the series right now. What we saw on TV is what it is. And I don't know. It just seems like a lot of, they're doing this and that, and this is why, and all those things. And I'm not going to give them a pass just because they're Marvel. And even though they do have that credibility, I still want to be entertained. If I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch 2, because there's so much content out there. I mean, we talk about it every day. The options to watch things that are good are out there. Now, I'm going to watch this just because it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think it's something that's good to review. But again, I just go back to, the bar is different for TV shows, right? The Mandalorian, to some extent, has changed the bar. Shows like The Boys, all those other shows where you're able just to turn on the TV and hit play. That if you want my 30 minutes or hour of my attention, then I want to be entertained, especially with something like a Marvel property that's a spinoff of the Avengers. So I started watching Avengers Infinity War again last night. I'll go through and just watch Infinity War and Endgame from time to time. And I'm just like, I know they can't keep rehashing the same thing, and they have to do something new at some point. I'm with that. But I'm watching the Avengers Infinity War, and I'm just like, God, this is so good. Like, maybe they're doing something that is gonna knock our socks off. I don't know when, but it's gonna be really good with WandaVision. But it took me kind of back to, man, this is why I love the Avengers and things like that, because it is a comic book movie, and I want to sit down and be entertained. I want to enjoy the characters also, but I want to be entertained as well. Tony, any thoughts? And then Chris, I think we do just try and I want to comment on a couple of things in episode 1 and then in episode 2 as well. But Tony, just wanted to give you an opportunity if you had anything else on. Just the overall thoughts.
No, I mean, I think it's been solid conversation between all of us, between Chris and you and I, and yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? Entertainment's always the goal, and I mean, he's not going to reach everyone. He didn't reach us, but he reached Chris. I mean, that's just a part of it. I have high hopes, so I did a little cheating, and I got on IMDb, and some of the people that are in this series gives me hope. Which you know, if I hadn't have done that, I might have been a little bit more like, you know, just like, oh God, I just got to watch this so I can talk to Chris about it, and that's the only thing I'm doing. But what I've seen on IMDb makes me a little bit more hopeful for what's going to happen. Now, back to the whole, this is to kick off, you know, phase 4. If you told me that like Marvel basically said our next phase depends solely on WandaVision after the first episode, I would have been like, oh God, I'm gonna start watching DC from now on. DC is gonna run the next, you know, 10 years of cinematic shows and movies and television.
Start watching
just
the CW and all the shows that are on there.
Yeah, just because I mean it, you know, it's good, but I mean it's not a superhero, which, you know, like Chris said, they're trying to kind of show you a little deeper behind the veil of these two characters. But at the same time, I mean, is it these two characters? Is that what we're really watching? It's two, we don't know. And Vision's dead, so I don't know where we're at. We're just kind of starting from scratch, and maybe this is just kind of to tease the audience a little bit. And like Wonder Woman, they'll talk about the first 30 minutes of this thing and then never show it again or bring it back up ever again. So maybe we'll do that, and then we will be like, dang, we were so worried, you know, watching I Love Lucy reruns with Vision and Wanda in it instead, and then it turns into, you know, would you say the last 2 episodes are supposed to have great battle scenes or whatever? So, and then maybe it'll lead us into Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then we can start critiquing that and see how much Chris loves it and we can't stand it.
Hey, listen, like I think that's why we all have our opinions on it. So I think that's a good place for us to I think that's a good place for us to close. So maybe we each give some closing thoughts, and I'll kick it off on my side. So
can we just, I want to go through some of the high level, like what if we just everybody just give what scene they like the best from each episode, because I think there's 2 key, you know, the episodes are structured very similar, where it leads up to, like, episode 1, it leads up to the dinner, right? Episode 2, it leads up to the magic show. So I thought, and I want to talk, and I'll just start. The neighbor, who her name is Catherine Hahn, and I hope I'm saying that right. Like, I thought that character was actually kind of interesting. She's a familiar face, right? Like, she's funny. So I thought that was cool. I thought the dinner scene was weird because you kind of start to see, like, things kind of break down, whatever's going on, as far as like when his boss is choking, and then he has to save him, and it kind of like goes in repeat where you know, Wanda's saying, you know, Vision, help him, or something like that. I thought that was interesting. I think Elizabeth Olsen is really good, like awesome. I think she is the best part. Paul Bettany's really good too. The characters they have in here are really good, but when I'm watching it, I'm going, man, the one thing that my takeaway is how good of an actress Elizabeth Olsen is. And Paul Bettany, you know, as well, because like you said earlier, Chris, it's this kind of, you know, we know him and he's robotic, so we're getting to see him kind of in these awkward situations, which I thought was interesting. I thought it was really funny when he was asking questions at work, like, well, what do we actually do? Do we buy some? No. Do we sell stuff? No. Do we create stuff? No. I thought that was kind of cool. And then I'll jump to the second episode. It was pretty, I guess, I don't know, charming's the word, how the setup with the gum, and then he was messing everything up, and then Elizabeth Olsen had to use, or Wanda had to use her powers to hide those things. I did enjoy that, and I thought that was interesting. So I guess I would say those were kind of my main takeaways and main highlights from the show.
Yeah, so Trey, my favorites are actually pretty similar to yours. I think I like quite a bit I mean, obviously the dinner party thing was pretty hilarious. I thought how that kind of kind of went down, and the magic show to me was actually really, really funny. And I would argue the magic show maybe even further the story along by showing that like more and more it's going to become difficult for them to hide their powers from.
Were you
from
like
everybody. And
laughing?
so
Were
it's
you
sort of,
laughing on the floor? Like it was so funny. You're
hysterically, like on the floor, like, oh my God, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
just kept rewinding.
No, because I think it was one of those. It was one of those things where it wasn't like laugh out loud funny. It was just sort of like amusing, like chuckle, like, okay, that's actually pretty funny, right? When he was like levitating and then she had to like quickly like make a pulley appear that was like holding him up or whatever. I mean, I thought that was like really, really, it was just amusing. So again, I enjoyed
Genius.
it. Those scenes were really funny. Hey, it's not genius. Tony, what about you?
See, favorite part of the first episode. Honestly, I think we had more fun. I guess the episode relates to this, trying to figure out whose house that was in history of sitcoms. So that's what we did. We spent a lot of time Googling. I thought it was a house that Lucy and Ricky lived in at one point. It turns out it's the Dick Van Dyke Show. So we were figuring out that kind of stuff. Like the dinner scene was kind of, I mean, it's just a harken back to old times of, how important it was when the boss comes over for dinner and, how she comes out and surprises him in her gown and says that, oh, that's just how they say hello in Sokovia or whatever by, blindfolding him and who is it? Like your host. Like that was kind of funny. And then I guess, my favorite scene, like where I did laugh out loud was from the second episode was when they offered him gum. And he says it, it inhibits mastication. And that guy's like, oh, I don't do that. Like, I was like, oh shit, okay, Disney, I see. Like, you're all right. So that was kind of funny. And the magic show bit was funny how, she kept having to dig him out. I thought it was interesting how, in my opinion, he acted drunk when the gum stuck him up. Like he had been at the bar and he came back and was just like wasted. So that was interesting to me. But that's all I got for exciting points of the two episodes.
It was just another genius move by Marvel. Just amazing story writing and storytelling.
Just be open to
the
where
gum
it's,
makes
where it's
them
going to
drunk.
go. So
the gum makes them
so
drunk. That's what it is.
So here, I'll give you my closing thoughts, Trey. So just in closing from my side, I mean, obviously I think I enjoyed it more than you guys did, which is cool. Again, Tony, like you said, it's why we have these debates and these discussions. I think it's really, really interesting. As it is, I think the big difference from where I'm at from where you are, Trey, is that like even as it is, I still really enjoyed it. And I still trust that it's going to lead to bigger, better things. I think where you're at, you need it to lead to bigger, better things. Otherwise, it's not going to be any good at all. But yeah, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see where episode 3 goes.
Go ahead, Tony, and then I'll close.
I rated it a 6. I think, in my opinion, that's what I got. That's what they get from me. But I didn't hate it. It is something I'd watch again. I probably actually will go back and see if I can pick out some other things from episodes 1 and 2. Maybe some Easter eggs or some stuff that I didn't notice the first time watching it. But I'm excited for this season. I don't know about episode 3. I think we're gonna stay in this kind of universe for at least another, like I said earlier, 2 episodes. But I'll stick with it, man. I'm hoping they can pull something out.
So from my end, 2 episodes in, it's not good. The fanboys will tell you it's good, and I'm a fanboy for all of the Marvel stuff pretty much up to this point. So, the initial reviews and everybody, oh my God, it's great, it's genius, and we were kind of talking about that earlier. And I would challenge people, just look at it on how entertained you were for the first 2 episodes. Now, maybe there's a ton of payoff coming, and episodes 3 through 9 or whatever are going to be amazing. So maybe the season review, right? Maybe I come out at the end of the season and go, this is great, right? But for 2 episodes, the sample size, while there were some funny gaffes and things that they did, to spin 2 episodes and we don't know anything about what's going on, and it was basically just a rehash of a 50 or 60 year old sitcom style. I think that's really disappointing that took the whole 2 episodes versus maybe that was just a piece of it or a quick setup. But obviously I'm not running Marvel Studios and I'm not the director of the series, so maybe I'm completely wrong. So anyways, well, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll start doing these reviews. We'll do a weekly review on the episodes. And I know we'll look forward to what Tony had to do to force himself to watch the episode just to get through it. Chris will have his fanboy glasses on and will be ready and hyped up. If the season goes just like there's the glasses. If the season goes exactly the way it's been going, expect Chris will still say, they're just setting it up. It's genius. Just wait for, this is a setup for phase 7. Just, you're gonna remember this. But I like that. I like that we disagree. I like that we disagree on it. This is good.
You're very angry. I don't understand why you're so angry.
Too much coffee.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, get
It's a little early. My voice is deep. My voice is deeper when we were doing the audio test. So it's fired up. Okay, guys. Thank y'all so much. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.